What is up, everybody? This is Anthony with VR Game Rankings. You are tuned in to our daily vlog series. This, of course, is a daily VR gaming news program, and today is Thursday, January 25th. This is episode 84 of the show, and we do have some news to get into today, and I'd also like to discuss my takes on the Contagion demo. Yes, I've promised this for a couple of days, and I'm definitely going to get to this a little bit later in the show, but let's go ahead and start it off with the news. We do have a number of interesting news topics to discuss real quick before we get into the Contagion discussion, so let's go ahead and get it kicked off. Okay, the number one story of the day is Pimax is currently estimating a delivery for Q2 2018 for their 8K headset. Okay, so this is a story. What happened is Pimax has updated their Kickstarter supporters with the latest information on their current roadmap to the release of their first consumer version, which is going to be arriving for Kickstarter backers, hopefully at some point in the second quarter of 2018. Now, what they did say was, after their spring festival, when their suppliers usually take vacations for about a half of a month, they will have the M1 version of their unit done. Now, the M1 version is basically as close as they're going to get to their mass production version, and what they're going to do is right around mid-March, they will be showcasing the M1 at various events, various trade shows, and things of that nature, and that they also are going to take a very small closed group from their community and actually give them M1 headsets and have them test it out and kind of get some final feedback before they go to the final mass production unit. So basically after that, it's possible they can make some minor changes, some minor adjustments, and then they would actually begin mass producing the final consumer version. And they are currently looking at a delivery window of Q2. Now, I have to say, based on everything I've heard, I think if it comes very, very late in Q2, that's probably what you got to hope for if you are a Kickstarter backer. But quite honestly, you're probably going to be looking at Q3 because all of these things typically get delayed a couple of additional months based on whatever they're hoping. That's kind of their best case scenario. And so you could probably add another 60 to 90 days on the back of that for the actual reality of it. But hopefully for Pimax Kickstarters, look, I don't want to hate on you guys. I hope you guys get these headsets. I'm incredibly curious to see when Pimax, when people actually get these headsets, they have them in their possession for multiple weeks where they can play it all day long. That's what I want to hear about. I want to hear about people that have been in the headset for 2 hours or longer and what are their experiences. That's really what I'm interested in. But Pimax right now is looking like a late Q2 product or possibly very early Q3. Okay, story number 2 is HTC Vive is the most popular headset in the GDC survey for 2018. And yes, leading up to GDC every year, they poll all the developers that are planning to attend GDC. They ask them a lot of various questions about which platforms they're supporting, which platforms they're interested in supporting, what they think about this part of the gaming industry, what they think about that part of the gaming industry, and they kind of just get a general poll to kind of get a feel for the way the leaves are blowing, so to speak. And the HTC Vive was the most popular VR AR headset in this polling. The Vive got 33% in the poll. The Oculus Rift was second most popular with 26%. PlayStation VR was third with 20%. HoloLens was fourth with 18%. Gear VR was fifth with 11%. Magic Leap was sixth with 10%. And Daydream was 7th with 9%. And then after that, you go to Cardboard and Miscellaneous. So the thing that kind of jumped out to me here was actually HoloLens. HoloLens is at 18%. That is higher than Gear VR. And then also Magic Leap is right behind Gear VR at 10%. So it's right there. This is very interesting to me because HoloLens is such an expensive device. So you have to wonder, at what point is this device going to try to go mainstream, and how is that actually going to work out? And then, of course, Magic Leap as well. Both of these products, HoloLens and Magic Leap, they're both sleeping giants, if you will, that are kind of on the sideline, and it's kind of like this other shoe that is going to drop. Developers are working on software for both of these platforms, and they're not doing it for their health. They're doing it because they believe that there will be a market for these at some point in time. Obviously, Microsoft and Magic Leap are very interested in making sure that they have some interesting content that can potentially drive sales. Of course, Microsoft has to be a little bit leery of Magic Leap and their arrival possibly later this year. So HoloLens could be looking at a discount, could be looking at a price reduction at some point, or possibly a retooling of the HoloLens as well. So it's going to be real interesting to see when we finally actually see some commercial products out of HoloLens and Magic Leap, but it was interesting to see them show up on the list. Now, we do have a little bit of Debbie Downer news that is related to this survey. So in 2017, 24% of all the devs surveyed said that they were actively working on a VR project. In 2018, that number has dropped to 19%. So it has been a 5% reduction year over year in the number of developers that are actively working on VR. That is not necessarily exciting news. Another question that developers were also asked if they believe that VR AR is a long-term sustainable business. Last year in 2017, 75% of respondents said yes, with 25% saying no. This year, it's dropped down to 71% saying yes and 29% saying no. So it does appear that we are in the trough of disillusionment, I believe is what it's called. You know, there is this hype cycle that is very well known in how hype is extremely explosive in the beginning, and that when something is released and it doesn't perform to these wildly outrageous expectations, then you kind of go through the trough of disillusionment. And that's kind of where we're at right now. Everybody knows, I think everybody is well aware of the fact that VR and AR are absolutely going nowhere. They're just going to get more and more popular. They're going to get more and more affordable. And eventually, these things are runaway trains. These trains have left the station. There's no stopping this. This is the future of humanity. Humanity is going to go to a place where we're going to start to create our own ideal realities. And instead of sitting down on a couch and watching Everybody Loves Raymond or whatever dumb TV show most people are watching. I mean, I know that's a really old show that hasn't been on air forever. Shows you how much I watch TV. But for people that are watching, The Bachelor or whatever dumb show like that, this is going to be the future. Instead of sitting down on a couch and watching some dumb TV show, people are going to enter other realities, and they're going to enter their ideal realities, and it's going to be absolutely incredible. It's going to be a little bit dangerous, honestly, for the human race if you think about it long term, but I'm not going to worry about that right now, and you shouldn't worry about it either. But what we're seeing here with the devs is they all know this. They're all aware of this. I don't think anybody out there thinks that this is not going to happen, but it's really how long is it going to take? Is it going to take 5 years? Is it going to take 10 years? Is it going to take another 20 years? Are we way too early with this? We're not sure. That's where the real question is. It's not whether or not VR and AR is going to take over. It's really, when is it going to take over, and when is it going to actually be profitable for companies that are jumping in? Now, speaking of profitability, that takes us to our third story. And our third story, this is especially disappointing for me because this story is about a developer called White Lotus Interactive. Now, White Lotus Interactive, they are responsible for Zing the Land Beyond. And I personally feel that Zing the Land Beyond is probably one of the 20 best VR games that came out in the year 2017. Now, the real unfortunate thing, though, is that sales of this game have been extremely disappointing for White Lotus Interactive. There was an article on Upload VR about White Lotus Interactive is basically pinning all their hopes on the PlayStation VR version of this game because the PC VR version sales were not up to par. Apparently, there are only 3 people actually that are working at White Lotus Interactive, 3 people that designed the game. They're living at their parents' homes and they're working on this game. This is something they've admitted straight up. They're living in their parents' homes. They're on a shoestring budget. They had to borrow money. They had to get loans to get this up and running. They were able to get the game up and running. They were able to release the game on the Oculus Rift and also release it on Steam, but sales have not been to the point that they've needed to be. The company is still in debt. They're still living in their parents' homes, and they've gone from a staff of 3 employees down to a staff of 2 employees. So they only have 2 employees left right now. They're trying to put the finishing touches on the PlayStation VR version of Zing the Land Beyond, and then they're hoping that the PlayStation version will find the kind of success that has eluded them with the PC VR version. And I have to say, just personally, this is very disappointing to me. This is very distressing to me because the reality is this is one of the best games of 2017. It's not only is this one of the best VR games of 2017, it's also priced very aggressively. Zing the Land Beyond, the last time I saw it was $19.99. It's $20. This isn't a $29.99 game. This isn't $34.99 or $39.99 or even $24.99. This is a $20 game, $19.99. The price is right. It's one of the best puzzle adventure kind of games I've ever seen in VR. Absolutely incredible atmosphere, incredible sound, beautiful graphics. Just everything about this game is dripping with quality as far as I'm concerned. This is a game that I really wish I could kind of pause time and just be able to go back and enjoy this game. Me working for VR Game Rankings and having to always stay up to date with the latest games, I have to keep moving forward and I have to leave all these games behind that I kind of was really into, and Zing the Land Beyond is one of these games, and it's super unfortunate to see that this developer is struggling. They're in debt, and they're hoping that the PlayStation version of the game saves them. I really hope it does, because we do not want to lose a talented developer like White Lotus Interactive. These guys kind of came out of nowhere. I thought they absolutely killed it. And if you like puzzle games at all, if anybody out there has the Talos Principle VR and you really like that, if you don't have Zing the Land Beyond, what are you doing? Pick this game up. It is absolutely awesome. I give it the highest possible recommendations. If you're a puzzle game fan, you can do no wrong with Zing the Land Beyond. This should be a success story, and it is very unfortunate that this is not a success story. And hopefully they can have great sales when this game does finally launch on PlayStation VR. Okay, so now, guys, I want to get into my discussion of Contagion VR, this demo that is on Steam. I've been meaning to talk about this for a couple of days. We ran out of time yesterday, so I want to get into it today, and I want to have some time to discuss this. So here's the deal. So there is this game called Contagion VR. And basically, there's a demo on Steam, and you can go ahead and try this demo. And I have to say that this is very impressive. I'm very impressed with what I've seen so far from this demo. I will admit, though, that I, of course, have this 970 graphics card, and this demo does run relatively choppy. When you first get into the demo, you're kind of in this like menu area, kind of a staging area before the demo actually starts. And you can go over and you can lower the settings. And so I went over to this area where you lower the settings, and I'm able to get much better frames and not have as much reprojection when I set it to the lowest possible settings. But even at the lowest possible settings, I still get a lot of stutter and a little bit of judder and a little bit of uneasiness when playing this game. It is not a flawless experience by any stretch of the imagination, but I can't really put this on the developer myself because, once again, I am running on a 970, so I don't have a higher spec PC, so I can't really put that on the developer. But as far as the actual demo is concerned, the really interesting thing about Contagion is the fact that the way they do this game is very different from a lot of other zombie shooter type games that we've seen in VR. Now, we have no shortage of zombie based games where you get a gun or you get a knife or you have a bat or you have some other type of melee weapon and you can wail on zombies, you can shoot them. We've seen plenty of games in VR that offer this type of action, but the different thing about Contagion is the way they do the story and the way the whole game starts out. It's kind of almost like they're trying to do like a little zombie movie or like a little zombie TV show. It's a little bit different how they do this game. So if you haven't played this demo yet, I highly suggest go ahead, play this demo, stop the tape right here, stop this video right here, go try this demo and then come back because there could be some spoilers coming up in relation to this demo because it is a very story-based demo and I kind of want to walk through what this demo is like because it is super cool. So anyway, when you first start out the demo, you're basically coming home to your apartment. And you start out in your apartment and you're walking around your apartment, your phone rings, you take out your phone, your girlfriend or wife is on the other line. I can't remember if it's a girlfriend or wife, and she's talking to you about how you doing, honey, blah, blah, blah. I'll be home in a little, I'll be home later, blah, blah, blah. And you're trying to get into your bedroom and the bedroom doors are locked, but supposedly a guy was coming over to fix some problems that you had in your house, kind of like a handyman guy was coming over to repair some things in your house, and so the doors are locked. You're not sure what happened, and so you're in this apartment, and just the way the whole thing kicks off, it starts off slowly. You don't realize that you're in any kind of zombie disaster situation, but slowly but surely it develops into this zombie disaster situation, and it's really interesting in the way they create it and the way it kind of springs out of normalcy, and then it turns into this, oh my God, everything has gone to hell. What is going on here? This is crazy. This is the end of the world type of situation. That's what it develops into. But in most zombie situations like this, they immediately throw you into that. Contagion is different from the standpoint that you don't immediately get thrown into that. You start out in a world where everything's normal, and then it all goes to hell right before your very eyes. And it's a combination of talking to your wife/girlfriend on the phone and the story that is conveyed there. And then also you turn on your television and there's some news reports that are on television. There is a warning from the National Broadcasting System, an alert basically about a contagious disease that's in the area. You start hearing gunshots everywhere. You hear people yelling and screaming outside of where your apartment is. Your wife/girlfriend is trying to get home to where your apartment is. You're very worried about that. And then you finally end up getting these doors open to your rooms, and you find out that this guy that was there, the handyman guy that was supposed to repair your house, he's over in the corner of the room. His eyes are glowing red. You see blood all over the floor. And then that's when this turns into a full-on zombie invasion. And I just think it's really clever how this whole thing unravels and how this whole thing develops. Now, as far as the actual demo itself and the actual gameplay, the biggest problem with this demo is that once you die, you have to actually repeat the entire demo. At least I haven't figured out a way to jump back into, like, say 3 minutes before I died. You have to start over back in the apartment with the whole entire story of your girlfriend, which you're going through like this 6 or 7, 8 minute scenario that you have to play out. And then you get to the actual zombie part. So that's the only thing that I don't like about this demo, is that you can't just get back into it. Now, it's possible that the developer deliberately did this, because if they didn't do this, then maybe it could be one of those situations where you would be happy just playing this demo as much as you could play this demo, and you wouldn't feel the need to actually buy the game. The game is not out yet. The full version is not out yet, but that's part of it. It could be that the developer designed this specifically in this way so that you're teased, you get a feel for it, but you don't get the feel for the entire game. But there is something very interesting that is going on with Contagion VR. I'm very much looking forward to the final release of this game. The gameplay is a little janky, like the gunplay and the melee attacks. I'm still getting a feel for it. It's very easy to die in this game. It's hard to survive that long, but there is something interesting. There's something peculiar about this game. It just has a little something different about this game that makes me want to really see a lot more of it, especially because you start off in the very beginning of the game when you're in this menu area, like before the demo actually starts. You kind of get to see the outside world, where the outside streets where zombies are walking around, and I really want to get out there and see that part of this world, because it seems very interesting, very exciting. Definitely want to see more of it. So I highly recommend, give yourself a chance. Go ahead and try this Contagion demo. I think it's well worth the effort to download this and give it a try. And I'm definitely looking forward to the full version when that finally hits. Okay, guys, that's pretty much going to wrap it up. I think we went a little bit longer than normal today, but that is going to go ahead and do it for episode 84 of the Daily Vlog series. Of course, this was Thursday, January 25th. And of course, I will be back tomorrow, hopefully with some additional news and maybe some more game discussion as well. So I will see everybody tomorrow. Take it easy. Later.